Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning. It's about 11:30. It's Monday. A beautiful sunny day, man. Welcome to the channel. You like what you see and hear? Hit like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Um, all of us retired, man. Us older folks. One of the channels that I like to watch on YouTube is called How to Hunt. Okay, and it's a gentleman that hunts the area predominantly in the upper northwest, in that area on the Pacific coast. And of course, I'm down here in the south. A lot of my viewers are probably down here in the south, man. And the topic that I want to talk about is kind of taboo, but it's with my people and my family. It's always been real. It's just something that I've always been intrigued by it. Now I don't hunt. I'm not a hunter. Now I love fishing, all types of fishing. So a lot of times, I'm at the Cape Fear River, Riverside, or fishing the bays at the beach, the waterways and stuff like that. But the topic of Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the humanoid, whatever you want to call it. And here lately I've heard something about a dog man. I'm trying to figure out where that came from. But way before they had that Patterson Gimlin footage where it shows the video of the Bigfoot walking across the creek, way before that even existed, my father and grandfather and some of his friends knew, always have known it was real. And my dad, he was raised on the Cape Fear River up in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And then at that time, it's urban now, but at that time, it was still a lot of country areas. No, I'm not crazy. I'm just telling you what was passed down to me. The guys would be hunting and see something, and they would just say, if you don't bother them, they won't bother you. But we've always called them boogers. Okay, down in the south, we've always called them boogers. There was no such thing as Sasquatch. We didn't know the name Bigfoot. We didn't know any of that, according to my father. Okay, now I haven't seen anything. I'm not going to get on here and say I was in the woods and I said no. All I know is the stories that my father and one of my father's friends told me, and that a story that I heard when I went to a law enforcement conference. Okay, now I remember my father telling me about it. I remember being a small child when him and his buddy, Mr. Johnny, was talking about it. Okay, the situation was my father worked for North Carolina Natural Gas Company. He worked on the construction part of it, which he would go in, install lines, and if there were neighborhoods being built, he would install the lines and run each line to each house, and he made sure it was right by code and all of that. Now his buddy Johnny worked with the state, driving motor graders and heavy equipment, bulldozers and front end crap like that, And I remember them talking one night. They were sitting at the table. We were at the beach. Johnny had a place at the beach. He had a mobile home at the beach, and all us kids were laying on the living room floor, and I could hear Dad and Johnny talking. I said, "What?" I said, "Bo." I said, "I keep having to go back." It was somebody up and we all lived in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And the area was called Cedar Creek. Now at the time, now it's an urban city now, but at the time it was a lot of farmland, okay? Hell of a lot of farmland. So a guy bought up some acreage and cleared the woods out a little bit, and he put in a brand new trailer park. At the time, we had Pope Air Force Base was open. We had Fort Bragg, so you had airmen and you had soldiers renting these mobile homes so they could be close to the post and the military establishment or whatever. So, just getting it ready and getting all the lines in, Dad had to keep going out and replacing lines. And I heard Johnny say, "You reckon it was a booger?" Daddy said, "I don't know. I don't believe in such crap like that." And then Johnny said, "Well, look, man, I'm from Bladen County, man. They out there, we call them boogers. I mean, it ain't no big thing, whether you believe it or not. It's just, I was raised up on that. He's real. He ain't gonna bother you if you don't bother him. But they live in the woods. They look like a half ape, half man, or whatever." That was the thing. We've always known about it. We just never made a big deal. We're not crazy. That was just the thing in the country, because the parents used to say, "Don't go out there, the boogers will get you." But anyway, see, these gas lines were probably big as a quarter, maybe, and they're pipes. And Dad said you had to have them. They had to be about 3 foot down in the ground, connecting, and they run in a line, and you covered them up with dirt. And each mobile home had a piece of copper tubing run to that line, connected to that line, up so it could run the furnace and the gas stove and all of that. Okay, so each time Daddy said he had to go out there, somebody or something reached down and pulled that line up out the ground. It was laying on top, and the pipes were busted. It looked like somebody grabbed it and snapped it all along the roadway where he had that gas line. It was up, pulled up. It wasn't dug up. Now, whatever done this had to have some strength, because a man would have to dig the line up and pull it up. Whatever it was grabbed this line and snatched it up out the ground and laid it on top of the ground. And it was all in pieces, and it said it would go up to these mobile homes, and it would snatch the underpinning out from under and reach up and pull insulation out. And Dad said, you can take copper tubing and bend it. You can cut it with some snips or whatever, said, but it looked like somebody grabbed it, had the strength to grab it and just pull it apart, because he said the edges were stretched. It wasn't cut, it was stretched, like somebody just grabbed it and pulled it apart. And there was human footprints all around the place. It just, he said, looked like size 13 or 14 footprints all around, everywhere, all around them mobile homes where insulation was being pulled out and underpinning was scattered everywhere. And Johnny kept saying, "That's a booger, Bo. That's what that is. That's a booger." And he said, Dad said there was like a rotten smell around there all the time, like something dead, and they never could find anything. But Johnny had to go out there because somebody said it was a dirt road. What Johnny would do at that time, mostly the roads in the country weren't asphalted, they were dirt roads. So he would take the motor grader and he would go through the county and grade these roads where it was, make it where you could travel with your car and not get stuck. You kept it smooth, and sometimes they laid gravel down there and just kept it smooth. They laid salt down and all that stuff. Somebody or something had pushed a big pine tree across that road. Boom. I mean, just out of nowhere during the night. Nobody, and they, once again, there was footprints all over. Johnny said, "That's a booger, bud. That's a booger. That's what it is." Nobody ever heard of the term Bigfoot or Squatch, or we called them boogers. And Johnny said, "That's a booger." Daddy said, "I ain't no such thing." Johnny said, he's got the strength, man. They can push trees over, and they were tree limbs twisted and tied and stacked up. Trees were pulled up and turned upside. Little trees were pulled up and turned upside down, and all kind of stuff. So, almighty. Yellow. Hello. Hey. Chicken. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. That's fine. All right. Bye-bye. I apologize, y'all, but when the wife calls, you better answer. But anyway, the trees were pulled up and turned upside down, and the roots up. And they never could figure that out. I remember Daddy and Johnny talking about that very well. Eventually, after about the third time, Daddy replaced those lines. Then some people were coming forward saying, "Look, man, they said there's a wild man out here, looking like some old caveman looking thing. Said out here living in the woods. It's probably some homeless man that's a feral man or something out here doing." And somebody saw him, but said he was like a 7-foot tall man with hair all over him and hair up under his arms, and said his arms was longer than his legs. But anyway, that's the story that Dad and Johnny was talking about. So Johnny always talked about it. Said, "Man, we've always known it existed. They just call them boogers, man, down in the South. That's what we've always called them. I've never seen them. I've never had, but Dad and Johnny, they hunted all the time. They never saw anything in the woods. And then another occasion, man, I was at a law enforcement get together it was a conference on the coast, and he had officers there from all over everywhere. And one of the days we had a discussion that said, "What's the weirdest call you ever been on?" And there was a guy he was a game warden, if you will, and he said that he had a call, a very strange call, and he had the incident report with him. Now y'all listen to this and have an open mind, okay? This is a booger. I guarantee you that's what it was. I'm telling you, this is a booger. You can call me crazy. I don't care. The subject don't bother me because I was raised up on it. In the South, we call them boogers. It just is what it is. But he said there was an old elderly man that had a cattle farm. This is out in Brunswick County, in the area called Green Swamp. I think it's a stretch roadway that runs 20 miles from Supply to the coast, Supply to Charlotte, I believe what it is. And it ain't nothing but country. At that time, it was in the 80s, he said. There was no computers, no cell phone, no crap like that. But he said this old man had a cattle farm, and he would let his grandson stay with him on the weekends sometimes, and he had a big fish pond out, irrigation pond that the cattle would drink the water from and all of that. Now he had a Brahmer bull, so that joker was mean. So he let his grandson fish that pond, only if the bull was locked up, okay? Make sure the bull's locked up, you fish all you want. So one day the little boy's out there fishing in the pond. According to this old man, now this is what he said to the game warden, okay? Because I think anything that happens to his cattle, anything weird that happens, he's got to report it to the Department of Agriculture, from my understanding. The man said he was pulling up in his driveway in his truck. Said the little boy was fishing. Said the little boy turned around, seen the bull was loose. They didn't know. The man gassed his truck. He's trying to get out there to the boy. The bull sees the boy. The boy takes off running. The bull starts charging after the little boy. Now, the man said he knows he's not getting there quick enough, but he's going to try to sidetrack that bull with his truck, because he knows that bull will kill that little boy if he trims that boy. He said all of a sudden now, this is what the game warden said. He said all of a sudden, said this huge gorilla-looking thing. He said it had boobs on it. I'm just telling you the story about what the man said, because a lot of guys in the class were laughing and snickering. They didn't believe it, But I looked at it with an open mind. Said this thing come out of the wood line on all fours, running on his front knuckles and his feet. Like a gorilla would do, or a chimpanzee or something. Said this thing, it was running full blast, man. And he said it got to the bull. He said this thing was massive. He said it was 4 foot wide. The shoulders looked like darn bowling balls. And he said the traps on it. I can remember him explaining the game warden. Said it went from the bottom of his head straight down. Said it was built. Said it was twice as big as Hulk Hogan from what they were talking about. So he said this thing grabbed that bull, throwed it. I mean, grabbed it and slammed it. Boom. Said it went to kicking, punching, said, and it killed the hell out of that bull. And it said it stood up. It said it let out a exhale. He said it was so strong you could feel it. Said it looked like it had female boobs or whatever. And said it just turned around and just said it didn't run. Said it just casually just went right back into the woods. So the old man and the little boy are perplexed, like, what? Now, this is the story that the game warden told. Okay, I didn't see nothing. I'm not claiming. I'm just telling you what was told. That he had an actual report. Unknown animal killed livestock or whatever, something like that. But they checked the bull, and there's footprints all over the place. Big, huge footprints this thing left. And they kept this story quiet. It really, it hit the news, the local news a little bit, but they squashed it. They had government people going out there looking around and doing all this stuff. But anyway, when they checked the bull, according to the game warden, said the bull's neck was broke in 2 places, and the rib cage was crushed, completely crushed. Now, to me, the guys are laughing and snickering. What? I knew right there. I said, that's a booger. That is a booger. That's a booger. What else? What has the strength? This bull was 1,200 pounds, y'all. According to the farmer, it was 1,200 pound Brahma bull that had the big horns way out there like that. What has the strength to grab this bull and slam him? That's what I tell everybody about. Y'all make fun of everything, and y'all don't know what's out there. But I'm in the down south. We always call them boogers. And there's friends of mine, Native American friends of mine from the Lumbee tribe. They stayed in Pembroke's not far from me. And they had a situation out there one time, and they know about this thing. But it's not a everyday. We've known about it. It's just not being discussed. And see, that's what I'm saying. There's something out there that needs to be looked into, because when you have an old man, he don't want to be famous for nothing. He called and said, can you send a deputy or a wildlife out? Y'all need to see this. When the game warden got there, he saw the bull. He said, what in the world happened to your bull? He said, he told him, said, this thing come out the woods, and that's what he said. He said, Bo, he said it, and nobody knew the term Bigfoot or anything like that. He said this thing come out the woods, looked like an old hairy man, but he was huge, and he killed my bull because my bull was running after my grandson. He was fishing in the pond, and the only thing that I could figure, maybe it was a female, that's like protecting the child or something, or that's what I was thinking. But that's the story that was told in the conference that I was at. Me coming from the South, I've always heard of boogers. They like to watch kids. They're entertained. We're entertained by TV and social media. They out there in the woods, they don't have no entertainment. They watch us. They watch everything we do. They watch the children. I think they've been known in the past to kidnap people, but it's real. It's always been real to us, man. And I got a buddy, good friend of mine. He's a deputy in Arkansas. And I always mentioned to him, I said, yeah, man, I believe, I said, we got boogers down here. And I talked to him about the where they made the movie, Boggy Creek. What about that? He said, oh, it ain't no such thing. I ain't never heard of such. And he don't believe in it, but, I brought that subject up to him, but no, I don't, I'm not going on no Bigfoot hunt. I don't, I'm not one of them wackos that spend time in the woods trying to find some. I fish, but it was intriguing when I come across that site that I was telling you about, how to hunt, because he often talks about running into some weird stuff and interviewing people that have actually had encounters, especially down on the Santee River down in South Carolina, where a gentleman was catfishing at night, him and a buddy, and they had tied the boat off to the railroad trestle, and they kind of pulled away from the trestle and anchored off, and they were just laying in the boat using their life jackets for pillars, and they were about to go to sleep, and then something from the trestle throws something at them and knocks one of their lights out. So he looks up and he sees this huge brown looking being, and he throws something else at them. He said they both pulled their pistol. He said this thing, instead of going back toward the swamp area, it runs across the trestle on the beams. He said you could hear him hitting the beams. And he said what was intriguing to him was that if a train was coming, they wouldn't be nowhere to go. He said this thing run over open water on that trestle. So that's what I told him. I said, that's a booger. That's a booger. But, say what you want to say, man. I'm just telling you what I was brought up on. I haven't seen it, but I've heard plenty of stories, I've heard plenty of stories. So, what you think is not out there. You have to think outside the box. Soldiers I know of have spoke about seeing some stuff on the army posts, seeing stuff out there and hearing noises and hollers and all of that stuff. Now, me, after hearing Johnny and Dad talk about it, I think it's some kind of human, maybe. A human mix of something that is a living being that hunts. He's been known in the Cedar Creek area for the situation I was telling you about with the mobile homes. There were farmers that reported their chickens being stolen, the chicken coops being broke into, and the chickens being stolen, some of their sheep and some of their hogs being stolen. One man said up toward that area that the wild man was seen carrying a hog under his arm, and he would jump over a fence. But it's a booger, I don't make a big deal about it because I know they're out there. People think you're a fruitcake. People say all kinds of stuff. But it don't bother me. If you want to believe it, believe it. If you don't. So, but let me know in the comments, man, of some of the stories that you have. I'm not going to make fun of you because I just know. I know from Bladen County, Cumberland County, Harnett County, especially Brunswick County, where the swamplands and all that are. And after hearing the story with this old farmer, why would he want to make up something like that? And because the little kid was in shock, he was scared to death. And to this day, I don't know if the child would say anything about it or not, but I remember the game warden. I think he's passed away now, but he said, nobody thought about taking no picture because there was no such thing as a cell phone, no such thing as a computer. There was none of that. So, but that was a story that was told at the conference. And the guy had pictures of footprints. He had the actual incident report. Unknown animal attack, killing livestock or whatever. But anyway, Yeah, I think about it to this day. A 1,200-pound Bremer bull. What in the world's gonna manhandle that? Think about it, man. You know, you have your own mind and whatever. Like I say, I'm not crazy. I don't go running out in the woods. Hey, I'm gonna go. I don't hunt. Yeah, you know, if you're looking for somebody that's a Bigfoot enthusiast, that's not me. I don't. You know, I'm not going hunting. I don't. No. But fishing, you say something about fishing, yeah, I might do that. But other than that, no, I don't go hunting. I don't. I watch some of the shows and kind of look and see what they talk about, you know. But down here, the booger's always been described maybe 7 foot at the least, built predominantly like a basketball player, big at the shoulders and the back goes down like a V, and he's got traps. You know, he's built pretty good, but he's not blowed up. That's the description down south that we have, and it goes all down to the Florida where they call the skunk ape or whatever. It's all up and down south. So, you know, you have people that believe in it and have people that don't, but I'm just telling you the description that we generally get from North Carolina over to Arkansas on this side of Mississippi River. The one in Brunswick County, the old man said it was huge, and he said it was a female, said it was huge. But you got differences. You got some that are slim, they may be young, some that are big, and we've always called them boogers, man. So if you like what you see and hear, man, hit like, subscribe, give me a thumbs up. We're all not crazy, man. I'm just telling you, okay? Just like I say, the Lord Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, the truth, the way, and the light. That's all I can do is tell you. It's up to you to make up your mind and accept it, you know. But there's things out here that exist that people don't know about, and they won't open their mind up to it. To us in the South, it ain't no big deal. It's like going outside and seeing a raccoon. It's just part of the nature. But man, hey, y'all have a good one.